himself, who's created a McLaren F1, the new T50, and probably had his fair share of driving some incredible machines, said that this is one of the best driver's cars he's ever experienced. We gotta slow clap this one, boys. That's what I'm saying. Like, I can't explain this thing. Whoa! So it's like 100 degrees out here, guys. I am sweating. I got up and I got hotter. It's like all the heat was trapped down there. I gotta go shower again. I hope it doesn't look that bad because there is no way I can run this through again. You guys are gonna get what you're gonna get. What's going on, Boosted Mob? It's your boy BoostedTrav, and today I bring a series that I haven't done in a while, but we call this the Garage Talk series. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about the all-new T50 designed by Gordon Murray himself. Before I really get into that, I just want to say I'm thankful for all of you guys and tuning in and checking out my content. I have my notes on my phone because I want to make sure that I really cover the details of this brand new T50 that I have been following for quite some time. When I first heard about it, Gordon Murray kind of announced that he's going to be building this ultimate driver's car, and I was very intrigued. I would say there's been a couple of other companies that have kind of put their own twist on, really bringing this driver-focused and enhanced cars, like the Aston Martin Valkyrie that's kind of been on its way in progression, and the AMG Project 1. But T50 is out, it's done, it's ready, and he's first to the market. And wow, is this going to be an incredible car. The T50 apparently is going to promise a surreal driving experience that you can kind of get from the modern day supercar, but really connecting back to that nostalgic driver's focus of the late model cars, say the McLaren F1, which we're going to get into again today. The T50 is, to me, what Lotus could do if they had the money. And maybe they do now with Geely, and they've kind of announced their brand new Evija, but I'm a little bit disappointed with not the design of it, but the intent behind it. Part of the reason for why I love the brand so much was its connection to the driver focus of the old school style of cars in modern times, and they've kind of shifted their focus on electrification. And I'm not going to deny that there is a great business value of being at the forefront of kind of bringing that Lotus to electric vehicles, but I don't get excited about electric cars. I don't really think I really see myself ever getting excited about electric cars. I'm pretty sure electric cars coming to the market is an easy way for me to stop spending money on cars. I don't want to really talk any more about that. That's definitely going to be another conversation on the Garage Talk series in the future. So I'll save my whole, perspective and point of view on Lotus and electrification and the future of Lotus. But today we are here for the T50. Now, I don't know why he chose the T nomenclature. I know I looked and I've seen he's had like the T27 and some other cars called T something. So I'm interested to know if T stands for type. But if anyone knows, definitely share in the comments why he decided to name his cars this way. One thing I'll say is it kind of connects back to electrification and where has modern day cars spent a lot of their time and focus. And I just want to say that I'm not interested in 0 to 60 times, 60 to 130 times, how fast it can lap the ring. I'm not a stoplight warrior, and I'm definitely not a drag racing devil. So I don't really care about this car being 0.2 of a second faster or 3 seconds faster around the ring, because I don't get paid to be a top lap record-breaking driver, I also don't have access to the ring. And I know I've said this a ton in previous videos, but it's like, I'm looking for the ultimate street driving car. And those things don't equate to what makes it an ultimate street driving car. I mean, there's speed limits out there, and there's only so much time that I can, you know, experience the rapid acceleration Porsche Turbo S or any of these crazy cars. And you know, a Corvette kind of came out that under 3 seconds. Like, that's cool, but I think it's all a lie. And we can totally market a different perspective on what it means to buy, you know, top tier sports cars today. And we've chosen to chase this easy metric scale, and I think we need to stop. And that's where the legendary Gordon Murray comes in. What matters is when you grab the steering wheel, you connect it like that. This car brings a type of sensation that I have never experienced, and I just really wish I could find the most perfect words to describe the excellence of driving this car. I honestly thought driving my BMW M3, coming from my previous car, was the greatest thing I ever experienced. And then I drove this, and it blew this car out of the water. I mean, this car is incredibly fast. Back to the point that I've been making, it's way faster than this car. I want more of this. I like this, but I really want this. And that's what cars need to be able to deliver. They need to be able to connect more to this. How can we show why this is important? And that's all I'm gonna say about that. But I do wanna say that there is a distinct connection between that and Gordon Murray, because he was the man behind the McLaren F1. And after he did the McLaren F1, he went off to start his own company in 2007. And between that and now, that's how he's been able to birth this beautiful piece of engineering, the T50. And honestly, I'm gonna say he is the Collin Chapman of 2020. If Collin Chapman was alive, he would be focused on the same aspects of engineering and what is of value for a driver's car as Gordon Murray does in his cars. And for that is why we all, I think, as Lotus people, can really appreciate and value what Gordon Murray is bringing to the automotive world. When he made the McLaren F1, and he spoke a lot about that, he did not focus on the numbers, he did not publicize or even produce what its top speed was, how fast it could do 0 to 60, how fast it did 60 to 130, you know, any record times. He focused on the purity of driving and ensured that he sculpted a machine that connected what he was looking for when he went to develop a car. And yet, despite not focusing on those elements, he was able to produce a car that even today holds some of the greatest records in time for a car. So many car companies focus on lap times, how fast it can go, and like I said, yes, it matters, but not that much. They don't put the time to focus on feel, driver sensation. And you know, these cars are getting heavier. They are using just absurd amounts of horsepower and superchargers and turbos to force itself to be able to be competent. Massive brakes, incredible tire positions, and all that stuff is important, but not at the sake of ensuring that it can do a lap record time. It's important to be able to deliver a pure, driver's focused machine that happens to be capable of breaking records. Let's talk a little bit about the T50. It is a 650 horsepower, naturally aspirated, 12,000 RPM V12. I mean, to me, it just sounds like we took a McLaren F1 whose motor was birthed by the gods of BMW, and now he's gone and connected with Cosworth, a legendary engineering company with great success, and brought together a new modern day McLaren F1 V12. I mean, damn, BMW hasn't even lost their way. BMW hasn't made a great motor since the S65, S85. Yes, these new motors they got out, they got great power, they got great engineering, but they sound like doo-doo, their response is doo-doo, There's nothing like the old ways of when S85, S65, and which all derive from the McLaren F1 motor. That's what makes this M3 so special, that feel. And Gordon Murray has not derailed from that. I mean, whew, Jesus. This T50 was sent from the heavens and crafted by Hephaestus himself. I mean, could you ask for a better engine? Seriously, wow. And not only that, this motor is bolted down to a 2,200-pound car. Let's have a moment of silence to let that sink in. 650 horsepower, 12,000 RPM, 2,200 pounds. That's putting this power in this car and still dropping almost 1,000 pounds. Is this man even human? Whew. Unbelievable. Just an unbelievable feat. For those that are really interested in the story, the journey, and the conversation around the Gordon Murray T50, I highly encourage you guys to pop some popcorn, grab a beer, a Coke, a wine, whatever it is you want to sip on. Sit down at the best place you can. This is going to be a 40-minute journey, and check out the Carfection video of the interview with Gordon Murray, or the video with Mr. JWW or Top Gear. I think all three of those videos do a very great job allowing Gordon Murray to explain how he was able to come down from the heavens and bless us mere mortals. Check it out. I watched all three. It's incredible. I just can't believe that he was really able to truly, produce a car of this caliber. It's quite interesting because, the marketing teams do an incredible job selling us on these cars, and a lot of it's a bunch of hosh-posh bullshit. And the marketing companies don't do a good enough job showing the world how great the Lotus is. And for those who are able to find this beauty themselves and understand the value, we're the real heroes out there. The T50 is like the size of the Lotus Elise or Lotus Exige V6. That is wild. A monster V12 somehow managed to put 3 seats in it, weighs 2,200 pounds, and is the size of a go-kart. And it happens to come at a price tag of $2.8 million. I don't have $2.8 million, so the best I could do is produce this video and talk about its greatness, because I'll probably never drive one. I hope I can maybe see one in the future. I would have loved to have been able to meet Gordon Murray himself and see this car, such as the others that have been able to interview him. They're blessed. But if I did have that kind of money and I was looking for a true driver's focused, super exclusive car, I would buy that car over a 918 Spider or a hybrid LaFerrari. Those are all great cars, but this car, I think, shows that those 3 cars, the LaFerrari, the 918 Spider, the McLaren P1, went down the modern track of what's the future for automotive. Nah, F that. Gordon Murray said, this is the future of automotive. And I think car companies should take a second to listen and have a conversation with their board of directors and reevaluate what we're doing, because he's on to something. I'm not gonna say the T50 is the prettiest car I've seen. I don't think it looks as great as a LaFerrari, as menacing as a P1, as beautifully carved like a piece of art as a Pagani Huayra. But Gordon Murray always said that he does not design cars for looks. He designs cars for fit and function. That's all he cares about. So his cars look relatively bland. And if you look at the F1, sadly, it's a relatively bland looking car. I still think it's beautiful. and I might be brainwashed because of how great that car was. When you look at the T50, there's a lot of similarity to the F1. I don't think it looks better than the F1, but that's my personal opinion. I actually don't think the T50 really looks that great at all. I think there's pieces of the car that I can truly appreciate, but when I first saw it, I was like, meh, from an exterior standpoint. I was like, nah, you know, it ain't bad. It ain't making me try and figure out how I'm gonna get rich from an exterior standpoint. But that's what makes him so great, is because he makes sure he focuses on attention of the car being designed to deliver the intent he needs to make the most ultimate driver's car. And I can appreciate him for that. I think one of the coolest aspects of this car, obviously the throwback to the 3-seat center seating position, McLaren F1, McLaren Speedtail design. From the cockpit standpoint, it has that fan on the back. And I'm not even going to try and do a disservice of trying to truly explain what that fan does, which once again, go back and check out those videos. I think that is such a unique and cool aspect of this car. I have massive splitters, huge wings. It is a pretty clean, simple design. And he actually talked about it and poked fun, like I was mentioning, on other automotive companies. He said, we don't need big wings and aero to produce well-designed car. He says he has the downforce that he needs. He really makes sure that he can do, you know, more with less, rather than let's just dump this massive wing, create a front splitter to kind of counterbalance the two and produce the 1,100 pounds of downforce that, you know, the Senna and some of these other track style cars have. Now don't get me wrong, I love that. I love the big wang, I love the big splitter. I think it just connects it closer to those race inspired cars, and for that I can appreciate it, but none of that stuff is needed. We are not using that downforce at all. If you're not over 120, you can't really tell, you know, that downforce is or isn't there. If you don't need any of that downforce. It's more show than go. But I think that's Gordon Murray's perspective. He's like, we're not going to do any of that because we don't need it. If we can control the airflow properly, we can get enough downforce that's required to keep this car on the road to achieve the purpose as a driver's car. So, like I mentioned, it does have the center seat. And the first thing I've always wondered is, if you're driving alone, how do you get out the garages, you know, when you got to reach over and stick your credit card in, or you go through a drive-through, or reach out? Maybe it's tight enough that you can't. I would love to understand how that works, right? I guess you just don't go places where you get into that predicament. As I look at this design, it might be why more companies don't do it, or maybe it's because the amount of engineering that has to go behind, you know, repositioning the drive shaft and stuff like that. But I do wish there were more cars that had the center seat. I just think it's such a unique aspect and, you know, better connection to that F1 feel. And by F1, I'm talking about F1 racing and not the McLaren F1, which obviously the McLaren F1 probably took that aspect from F1 racing. And then, you know, normal car, you got 2 seats, me and the wife. This car, you got 3 seats, me, wife, and mistress. It don't get much better than that. Or from a bachelor's, you got, you know, girl number 1 and girl number 2. That's pretty cool. I could see that being valuable for some of the playboys out there. I think another really cool thing about Gordon Murray, and I think this really speaks volume on a company that I'll mention in just a second, is in 2018, he had took delivery of an Alpine A110S. And he said, and I quote, and I don't want to butcher the quote, so I'm going to read it. When he had the interview with Car Throttle back in 2018 when he took delivery, he said, it is the best ride and handling car of anything he's driven since the Lotus Evija. What it do, baby? The man himself said that this is one of the best driver's cars he's ever experienced, and to have read that, Gordon Murray himself allows me to believe that I'm not telling lies out here. Even someone such as him appreciates the engineering behind the Lotus brand and its mission for driver focus. To him, it's still one of the greatest driving cars he's ever experienced. Yeah, we gotta snap to that. I think what's also interesting, and I'm conflicted here because I know I've talked a lot about records and not. There's a lot of focus when you look at the marketing on the Lotus Evija about it being a pure driver's car. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't have the manual, so I'm not getting the purest form of this car. I will not argue with you guys, that's the truth. But they never really talk about how fast it laps the ring or any of these other well-known tracks to show the capability of this car with other capable cars. They focus on how well it's lapped Hethel, how much better it drives versus their last cars. They don't even focus on any of the so-called competition, because the way I look at it is their only competition is themselves. How can we make the next Evija or the next Exige better than the previous one? So now they're trying to beat their own car so that they can be even that much better than the competition. Now hear me out. I do want to know how capable these cars are on the ring, because it's the only way that you can beat that sense into the other people out there, because they'll say, well, how good is it to the Cayman GT4 and 911 GT3? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I can't answer that question. I can say I think it looks better than a Cayman. Now, I don't love the front bumper. I would change that, but yeah, I mean, I think it's great. And so I don't want to derail too much on the Lotus topic, because this is about Gordon Murray and the T50, but I really do want to talk volume of this car and how that distinction connects to Gordon Murray and his vision and his passion of what drivers' cars mean. And it's not about the numbers. It's not about comparing it to the rivals. It's about doing your best job to produce a passionate and enjoyable experience for the consumer. And they say you gotta drive one to understand.